Member for Karama, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Tourism and Hospitality. Minister, the Territory has just kicked off a new cruise ship season following a record-breaking year for visitation and spending, which I can say is confirmed by many taxi drivers living in Karama and Malak. We know the cruise sector brings enormous benefits for local businesses, especially during the shoulder season when many operators rely on that trade. Minister, can you please update the House on how the cruise industry is supporting the Territory's tourism recovery and how this fits with the government's broader work to rebuild the economy and create jobs right across the Northern Territory?
Minister for Tourism and Hospitality.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member for Karama. I love how you highlighted that the taxi drivers have been talking out there in Karama and Malak because they do a mountain of work to get people in and out of the city, of course, when those cruise ships are here. But also thank you to all of the people in the tourism and hospitality industry that live in Karama and Malak and Nucky's Lagoon, of course, because they all do a fabulous job. We have an amazing tourism and hospitality industry here in the Northern Territory. And we do love our cruise ships because the cruise ships come at a time when it's traditionally very quiet with tourists in the Northern Territory. And we see them come across the harbour and it looks spectacular, but it also brings a lot to the Territory economy. And Madam Speaker, in the season for 24-25, that was actually the biggest cruise ship season we've had on record since the birth of it. There was 129 ships in Darwin, which is a monstrous amount. And of course, there was actually 145 in total across the Territory because they don't just stop in Darwin, they stop in a lot of other places around the coastlines as well. So that's fabulous. And of course, that is delivering $181 million to the Northern Territory economy. A big number, and 527 local jobs, right? That's some of those people in Karama, Malak and Nucky's member for Karama. The other thing I want to highlight is the passenger satisfaction. At the moment, it is absolutely sky high, which means that the tourism industry, the hospitality industry and the Territory is putting on a really good show for our tourists that come on the cruises. We had 91% of passengers rate their visit as excellent, which is the top marks. But we also had 61% who shopped in Darwin, which is an amazing result. More than a third dined in our local restaurants and cafes. That's really good, right? They used to call a bit of flack for not spending money in here. Well, they absolutely are. They were this time around. So well done to our tourism and hospitality industry. Now, of course, we are expecting by the end of 2025, really good news that another 60 expedition ships carrying 11,000 passengers are going to be here, which is fabulous when it gets really hot and we don't have as many other tourists from other places around the world. And of course, next year, we've already got booked in, scheduled, 104 ships, which is 70,000 visitors. That's what's scheduled. We still have more that get added to the books over the year, so it's a really good amount. Now, I want to highlight before my time is up, Madam Speaker, this is very different to what it was under Labor, because people may remember that under Labor we had a crime crisis in the city and captains of ships were telling the passengers not to go to Darwin City. Absolutely disgraceful. And you know why? Because of the crime crisis. And then when the Labor was asked about this on radio, guess what their answer was? Well, we're working with the operators to change the times and days the cruise ships come in. Now, that is not tourism. That is a Labor legacy which we had to come in and fix, and we've done that, and it's really exciting that the cruise ship industry is alive and well and looking like a bumper season again, Madam Speaker.